ቤተክርስቲያን እንዴት አደራችሁ? So good morning everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Nathaniel, and I was asked today to provide you guys with a lesson with a teaching from the Bible. And I decided to base my teaching off the book of Job, one of the early books of the Old Testament. And it's the 17th book of the Old Testament. Now our story starts off with Job. Job, our main character, he's a very rich, very kind man. He's even richer than David Dobrik. He has the most land, he has the most money, he has the biggest family, and he's also a very humble man too. He never let things get into his head, and he was always thankful to God for all he had. And he always made sure to thank God for everything he had. Now, God in heaven, he saw this, and he would brag to his angels, to anyone who would listen to God. He would tell them, look at Job, look down on earth. Job is my favorite person because he's always giving thanks to me. He's always blessing, he's always very kind to all his brothers and sisters. Now, when God was talking about this, Satan comes up to God, and he poses the question, hey God, are you sure that Job is a good person because he's kind and he's trustworthy? Or is it because he's already rich? So because you gave him everything he wants, is that why he's very nice? God asks Satan, do you really believe that Job, if I were to take his things, he wouldn't be loving anymore? Satan says yes. So then this is when God, he gives Satan permission to go to earth and take all of his prized possessions from him. Now Satan does this. He goes to earth, and in the form of a hurricane, he kills all of his cattle, all of his cows, all of his chickens and everything. Now, Job wasn't aware of this. He was walking in his garden one day, and then a servant comes to Job, and he tells him, Master Job, I have bad news for you. I was in your farm, and then a hurricane came and killed all of your animals. I was the only one who survived to come and tell you about this. Now, before the servant could even finish his sentence, another servant came, and this servant also had bad news. He said, oh, Master Job, I have some more bad news. I was on your farm where all your seeds were being planted and everything. And then a hurricane comes and destroys all of your crops. There's no more food. Now Job is very sad about this news because all of his food and all of his animals were gone. But there's even more bad news. Another servant comes and he tells him, Master Job, I have some more bad news. I was out with your friends, I was out with your children partying and everything, and then villagers from a different village came, they kidnapped your children. I was the only one who survived, and I came to tell you about this. Now, Job, once he heard this, he was devastated beyond words, because he just lost all he owned, he lost all of his land, all of his friends, all of his children, and he was saddened. And in Job, chapter 1, verse 21, we can see his response. Can I get Dr. Stephanos to come read this? Everyone give Stephanos a round of applause.
And he said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Bless the name of the Lord. And all his Job did not sin or charged God with wrong.
Thank you, Stephanos. Now over here we see his response. Job had just gotten everything he loved, everything he owned, all of his materialistic possessions, they were all just taken away from him. And he still didn't blame God. He didn't blame God because he knew that he came into the world with nothing. He came into the world naked, and he understood that it's through God's grace that he got things. It's through God's grace that he was able to become so rich. And so because of that, he knew that it was God's right to be able to take that away from him. And we can see that in our own lives, because don't you guys hate it when your parents just take your video games? Right? When you can't play Fortnite, or you can't go on TikTok. They just take it, but then you get mad at them because it's like, oh, why are you taking my phone? Why are you taking my games? But then you have to realize, they were never really yours. Your parents bought them for you because they love you, they want you to have a fun time, they want you to not be bored at home. But at the same time, if you're not focusing on your other responsibilities, then you leave them no choice but to take it from you. Because your parents won't take your games or your phone for no reason. They have to have a reason for them to take it away. Maybe they notice that your grades aren't doing as well, or you just need more time to study on things. They'll take it to teach you, to help you understand that life isn't just about getting a 360 no-scope or getting famous on TikTok. It's not just about that. It's also about getting a good education. Because it's when you have a good education, when you can make money, and then you can just like have a better life in your future. And that's what your parents want. God did this to Job to show Satan that Job still loves him, that Job will still respect and nurture his grace. And God was right. Once Satan goes back to go talk to God, God tells him, look, I told you that Job still loves me. He still respects me. He still shows grace. And then this is when Satan, he poses another question. And he tells God, I feel like Job just loves and respects you because he's still physically fine. Nothing has happened to his health. He's still physically okay. If I were to go to earth and inflict Job with a bunch of diseases, then he would definitely curse you. He wouldn't want to be a follower of you anymore. Now, God, he gives Satan permission to go back down to earth and give Job a bunch of diseases, but on the condition that Job does not die. So Satan does this immediately. He goes back to earth, and then he gives Job a lot of diseases, to the point where his hair just starts falling out, like his hairline recedes, and then it just falls out completely. Now, it's over here to the point where he's very sick. He's ripped his clothes, he's bald, where his wife asks him the question. And in Job chapter 2, verse 9 through 10, we see his response. Can I get that? I would read this. Everyone give Abel a round of applause.
Then his wife said to him, do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die. But he said to her, you speak as one of the foolish women speaks. Shall we indeed accept good from God? And shall we not accept adversity? In all this, Job not sinned with his lips.
Thank you, Abba. So over here we see another sign of how strong Job is. Because even though he's not physically in pain, and adding on to the fact that he's emotionally in pain because all of his possessions were taken, and he still decides to love God. And he tells his wife, no, I won't curse him, because I know that there are ups and downs in my life. I know that sometimes my life isn't going to be going as the way I want it to, but I know that eventually I'll get to where I want to be, because it's through God. God is the one who's helping me. I can't see what God sees. I can just see what's in front of me, but God, he can see everything around me. And it's through his power and his wisdom that things happen to me. Sometimes I might not like it at the time, but we just have to have faith that we'll get better. We can see this in our own lives, because we can see that when, let's say like athletes, whenever they play a sport or whatever and they get hurt, let's say you're playing soccer and then you get kicked in the shins. You fall down in pain, and you're physically in pain. And then you get mad because it's like, oh, what if I did this? What if I did that? What if I just jumped at times? But then you realize that, oh, this happened, but this isn't the end of the world for you. Because you know that you will get back up. Even if it doesn't happen right away, even if you have to sit out the game, you know that you can get back out there to score another goal or to help your friends score a goal. Because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And this didn't kill Job. And Job understood that he isn't dead. And he knows that God's help, that God's faith, that God's divine power is still with him. So then Satan goes back to God. And then God tells him, I told you, even though Job is physically in pain, and even though he's no longer rich, he still respects me. Now Satan, he wasn't done yet. Back on earth, Job's 3 friends come to visit him. They go to him, they talk with him, they eat with him. They want to know like what's up, like what happened, bro, like why are all these things happening to him? And after a while of peace, they start coming up with ideas like, oh, maybe Job isn't such a good person. Maybe Job was stealing and we didn't know about it. Maybe Job hit somebody. Maybe Job was a liar. And once Job overheard this, he told them flat out, no, I didn't do this. I've been nothing but a good person. They understand that. But then they tell him, then why don't you just curse God? Get it over with. We know you're balding, you're sick, you're not rich anymore. Just get mad at God. No one's going to blame you. They say that they'll understand if he gets mad at God. Because they see that he doesn't have anything anymore. And they believe that God has forsaken him. And if God has forsaken him, then there's no point for him to keep respecting God, right? Job says to them, no, I don't need to curse God because I know he's still with me. And over here we see Job tackle another issue. We see Job not fall under the influence of peer pressure. Because his best friend, they were telling him to do things. They were telling him to curse God. Just say you don't love God anymore. It's fine, you'll understand. They were comforting him to do something that he knew was wrong. Now, if any one of us were in Job's position, we might have done this because we're not all as strong as Job. But Job knew that he didn't need to do this because God was watching. And we can see this in our own lives today, with kids from school or just friends in general. When they tell us to do things that we don't want to, and we know it's wrong, but if a group of them tell us to do it, all of a sudden it feels right. All of a sudden we just think, oh, if everyone else is doing it, it's not wrong, right? If everyone else is making fun of the kid over there, why can't I make fun of the kid? This is what peer pressure is. And peer pressure is such a common demon because we see that other people that we love, our best friends or whatever, we see them doing this. So we're thinking, oh, they're good people. If they are doing this and they're good people, we should be able to do this too, right? Job was able to overlook that. He was able to resist that temptation because he knew that God was always watching him. Now this was also the work of Satan because he wanted to see if Job would fall for peer pressure through his friends, by his friends' peer pressure. And Job didn't do this. He declared to them that no, God's plan is the right one. So if God wants me to be sick, it must be for a good reason. It must be for a good purpose. And that's a very hard thing to do because once we're sick, don't we just want to scream like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? We're never like, oh, there must be like a light at the end of the tunnel that we're just not being able to see yet. We're just not able to notice yet because we can't see the bigger picture. And it's with God's help that we can see the bigger picture. So then in the end, in Job chapter 42, this is a very long book. In Job chapter 42, verse 10, we can see his response. Can I get Stefan to read this?
And the Lord restored Job's losses when he prayed for his friends. And indeed, the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before.
Thank you, Stefan. And over here, we can see that Job's persistence in believing and trusting in God has paid off. Because he not only got what he had before, he not only got what he lost in the beginning, he got it doubled. He got it for a 2-for-1 deal. Because in the beginning, he had all the land, he had all the money, he had all the farmland, everything he wanted. But then he knew that this was through the power of God. It was through God's divine grace that he was able to obtain everything he did. So when it was all taken from him, he knew that was also part of God's plan. He had no way of knowing that he would get everything in return and doubled. He had no intention. He had no idea that was going to happen to him. But it was through his faith in God, that he knew that even through the hardship he went through, he would be rewarded. So before I close off, I just want to remind you all that just in the beginning, when Job lost everything, he was smart enough, he was determined enough to not stop believing in God, because he knew he came into the world naked and he would leave naked. And I just want you all to try and practice that today, or just in your own lives, because as I said before, if your parents take your video game or your phones or anything away from you, don't get mad at them. Try and see that they're trying to protect you and they're trying to educate you and how to use your devices properly. Because the things you have, because we live in America, not kids in different countries, they don't have the lavish lifestyles that we have today. They don't have the phones, the technology, the things that we take it for granted for. So that's why when your parents take things from you, or just anything that happen in general just happens to you, just know that it's through God's grace that you've received them. also, remember not to fall for peer pressure. Because peer pressure, it can trick you, it can make you think that it's the right thing. But even if your parents don't catch you, or even if your principal or your teacher, even if you feel like you can get away with it, you have to understand that God, He sees everything. Even if you're in the dark, He'll know what you're doing, He'll know where you are 24/7. So if you do anything, even if you can hide it from all of your friends, your family, your parents, God, you can't hide it from God, and God will see everything happen. And then in the end, if you do what God wanted you to do, if you do what you were told, if you do what you were assigned to do, then you'll get everything back plus more, just like Job did. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.